Hi, Jerry Corley, standupcomedyclinic.com with Ask the Joke Doctor. Today we're going to talk about ageism in comedy. Is it real or is it bullshit? Hi, Jerry Corley, standupcomedyclinic.com with Ask the Joke Doctor. Today we're actually going to talk about ageism in the comedy industry. There was a Facebook thread out there hosted by some pretty, interesting people. Eddie Brill, who is the former talent coordinator over at the Late Show with David Letterman. Eddie's a veteran comedian. He loves comedians. He loves the business of comedy. And he actually posted up on his Facebook feed, ageism, is it real? We've been talking about how he and other comedians have been experiencing ageism. That means being kind of denied jobs because of their age. They're too old. Got to be honest with you, ageism does exist, but it exists in every industry, not just the comedy industry. What I noticed in this thread was that their argument was more or less about whether or not they're better comedians because they're older. Well, let's hope so. Let's hope we're all better because we have more experience and we've been doing this for a longer period of time. But I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think what we're dealing with is something called perception. And in this business, perception is everything. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is this, is that how do they perceive you? If they perceive you as old, does that work against you? And I would hate to say that, yes, I think it does in many instances. Here's the deal. The networks, the television networks, are driven by ratings. They're driven by how many people are viewing their programs. And they make money, they stay on the air because of advertisers. So advertisers drive the industry. Once we understand this concept, we'll begin to understand where we're going. Back when I was in junior college, a physical science professor actually put on the board the big dollar sign. He just wrote on the board the big dollar sign. He was like, if you want to know the answer to anything, it's all right here. And he put up the big dollar sign. That one lesson taught me so much about life and how to ask the right questions. Where do you really want to find the answer? Whether you ask it about war or anything else, you're going to find that it's all where the money is. Now let's get back to ageism and us, right? Comedians, how do we deal with the ageism crisis in this town? The networks are reliant upon the advertisers to stay in business. The advertisers have what they call a demographic, a target demographic. These are the people they're looking to reach in their advertising. Who are they trying to sell to? And right now, the target demo for most advertisers is 18 to 24 or 18 to 34 male. That's what they're looking for. That's who they want to target, 18 to 24 or 18 to 34 males. And that's where they want to generate their business. The problem comes when you have executives at the network side. When the networks are told that the advertisers are looking for 18 to 24, 18 to 34 males, they equate that in their heads to 18 to 24 or 18 to 34 talent. And yet the opposite to that is right before their very eyes constantly. I mean, George Carlin died at 76, I think. And George was selling out rooms at colleges till the day he died. The number one attraction on cable as far as comedy was concerned for many years was Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart with The Daily Show didn't retire till he was 53. So these guys were driving traffic or driving eyeballs to their shows. And they were not young. They weren't 18 to 24, 18 to 34 by any stretch of the imagination. They were, in fact, way beyond that. Now, we can go into how the advertiser's demo is flawed in so many ways. One of the reasons it's flawed is because that's not where the money is. The money isn't with the 18 to 34, 18 to 24 males. In fact, the 18 to 24 males are asking their parents for money. So I know I've got 21 and 23-year-olds sitting there going, Dad, I need money to buy something. So, because they're in college, so I give them money. So the money, the discretionary income, is in the over 50s. That's where the money is. So why they're targeting the 18 to 24s, I don't know. I think one of the reasons is, if you could do some research on it, is because they want to create brand loyalty. If they hook you at 18 to 24, then odds are you're going to stay with them a lot longer. Not necessarily true in today's world. As you know, if you're 18 to 24 or 18 to 34 and you're looking at this right now, we go to the next best thing. You know, whatever Mashable says is happening, or whatever BuzzFeed says is happening, we see a new thing in the tech crunch, we go for it, right? So when the iPhone changes the iPhone 7, we go for it. Or sometimes if Samsung comes out with something cool, people swap back over to Samsung. I was a Samsung guy, and I bought the iPhone because I wanted to try something new. I wanted to do something different. But that brand loyalty isn't there. We go with what's the best, and or what really suits our needs. And in this world, it's a different world than it was 30 years ago. And the advertisers are just starting to catch up to this idea. And the 18 to 34 demo isn't as written in stone as it used to be. So there is hope in that regard. So now that we know that the advertisers basically deal with 18 to 34 demo, and the executives equate that to 18 to 34 talent, even though it's totally flawed, how do we work around this? Here's one of the answers. You can develop pressure outside the system so that now the system wants to come after you. There's an old saying that says that if you keep your head down and do the best work possible, then you don't have to chase anybody. They will chase you. So does this make any sense? I hope it does, because this is what it is. Don't sit there and sweat or complain or worry about the fact that there's ageism. Work around it. Figure out how to build some pressure outside the system so that the system comes to you. We can go back and we'll look at Dane Cook. Dane Cook, even though he's not my favorite comedian, I don't think he's that funny right now. Sometimes he's funny. Most of the time he's not, as far as I'm concerned. But that's not... I'm still a big fan and supporter of all comedians. I think Dane is a hard-working guy, one of the hardest working guys in show business. He stays in contact with his fans, and he started by building pressure outside the system. So instead of ridiculing other comics, I always look at, okay, how did they get successful? How did they get people to know them? I mean, Carrot Top, look at Carrot Top. So many comics sit there and they make fun of Carrot Top. Right? And they spend all this energy making fun of Carrot Top. And Carrot Top is one of the highest paid entertainers in this country, has his own theater in Vegas. He's doing what he loves to do for a living. Why would anybody make fun of that? I would sit there and you got to look at what they've done to get where they are. Study that. Use your energy on that and stop bitching about other comics, their successes or their failures, or whether you like them or not. That's just because you have a low level of security, if you're doing that. Instead, if you boost somebody up, it shows that you have confidence in yourself. There's two primary ways to reach a level of success. One is to work really hard and build a name for yourself. The other one is to stand around and point fingers and put everybody else down around you so that you feel superior to them. Which team do you want to play on? I'd rather play on the one that's working hard to get things accomplished and build a name and build some note for myself so that people take notice. Does that make sense? Build that pressure outside the system so that you can then make something of yourself inside the system, because the system now comes to you. And this might be a longer video than normal because there's a lot of things to cover here that can help you wrap your head around different ways to succeed in this business. If you're young, if you're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, you're at a perfect age to be in comedy, because you can work up to the place where you're now TV ready, and once you hit that TV, Jerry Seinfeld started at like 19 or 20, and within 5 years he was on The Tonight Show. Once he hit The Tonight Show, he was made. Got it? When he first put out Seinfeld, it was called Seinfeld Chronicles, and it was canceled. Then there was a lot of written letters, pressure sent to the networks, and they put him back on as Seinfeld, and Seinfeld became the biggest hit in sitcom history on television. So it's still the guy still makes $36, $37 million a year from syndicated replays of Seinfeld. So if you're young, you're set. Just work your ass off and start getting to the level you want to be, get TV ready so you can get that exposure. If you're past those ages, if you're in your 30s, if you're in your 40s, certainly if you're in your 50s, Rodney Dangerfield became a star, became notable at 62 or 63. He bought his own club in New York, suddenly things started to happen, and he had a career. So we look at, and if we look at the past, right, Rodney Dangerfield was a huge star as far as a comedian and a television celebrity, television comedian was concerned, doing lots of movies, right? Lots of big, memorable movies, comedic-wise or comedy-wise. And yet we have executives now who are young who don't remember that shit. So they're thinking, you know, why would I hire an old guy when we need young guys because the advertisers are saying 18 to 34? Well, you know who's not dependent on advertisers right now? Netflix. Netflix is a subscription-based platform. That means it doesn't rely on advertisers. So there are, and Hulu, and Amazon Originals, all of these guys, and Crackle, all of these guys are now, and we'll get back to Crackle in a second, they're now basically developing new shows, different shows, so there's more opportunity available for those people who the networks may have perceived to be over the hill. Secondly, if you have a name, doesn't matter what age you are, you could get booked. For example, Jeffrey Tambor. Do you think Jeffrey has a hard time? He's 70, something like that. Do you think he has a hard time getting booked anywhere? I don't think so. So you look at these guys who are up there. Larry David, if he wanted to do anything, do you think he would have a hard time getting that gig? Maybe. If it was a new show, maybe. That's why he's on HBO. It's subscription-based. It's not dependent upon the advertisers. Jerry Seinfeld tried to sell comedians in cars drinking coffee. That show that's been on Crackle for 6 years now, 6 seasons as of this recording, as of this video recording. He's been on there 6 seasons. And he tried to sell that to everybody in town. He tried to sell that show to every network he possibly could, and they all passed, probably because they didn't know what it was about, they couldn't really envision it, or he was old, right? He's 66 now? He's 63 now. Sorry, Jerry, I didn't mean to increase your age by 3 years, but he's 63 now. So, but Jerry said blatantly, flat out, he says, I shopped it everywhere. I was like, what kind of track record do you need to get something made in this town? And that's what he did. So he tried to shop it everywhere, but he couldn't get it sold. And maybe ageism had something to do with it. So we got to go around the networks because evidently the networks are just looking at the 18 to 34 male. So here's the deal. What do? You build pressure outside the system. Lots of different ways to do that. You can develop a YouTube presence. You can develop a different type of show. You can become a writer. Develop something outside stand-up in addition to your stand-up. And now that thing you're developing outside of stand-up, the stand-up becomes popular, and now you're getting more looks because you've already got a buzz. So say you write something, you write a sitcom, you write an animated special, you write something that gets on and gets popular. Now you're going to build pressure outside the normal channels in stand-up, because once you have that credential or that notoriety, then you're going to build, that pressure is going to make them want to come to you because people want more of what you have. So I think one of your best platforms right now as a 50 plus, I'm a 50 plus, is YouTube. Put stuff on that's funny, put stuff on that's clever and interesting, short, quick, develop that, get it out there, get a name for yourself. All of a sudden, if you develop 1 million followers or 2 million followers or 5 million followers, trust me, the industry is going to come after you because that's a lot of eyeballs watching your stuff. Keep in mind, Conan O'Brien on TBS has about 300,000, 310, 350,000 people watching him every night on that network. 350 or 310 to 350,000 people watching every night. So if you have 1 million followers and 1 million people watching your videos, you're already overtaking Conan, who's on TBS. So you've got eyeballs. Conan's presence on the new media, on the internet, is huge. You know, a lot of people viewing the videos not on the network, but on the internet. So think about building some pressure outside the business. You could also write. You know, write some books, get a name for yourself that way. Write some comedy books, write some scripts, write some sketches. Write write for late night television. Develop a really big following. Use that to bounce off, and then create some sort of write a film that becomes very popular. If you write a film that becomes very popular, do you think you're going to have problems getting booked? I don't think so, because you have a name. See, you can write a film. And then part of that, you hire a PR representative, PR agent, who then gets you some spots on the late shows and the morning shows. And you start to build a name. You use your charisma, your jokes, you're funny to develop a personality on those shows. Now from that, you might be able to catapult that into something else, like more personal appearances. All of that works together. A second thing here is one of my students and colleagues is I hate to call him really a student, although when I started in comedy, he was kind of a student. When I was a headliner, he was featuring for me on the road, right? So we would share ideas. He's come into my classes, and he was a DJ in Seattle area. Now he's a DJ here in Los Angeles on Alt 98.7, and his numbers are the best in his market at that time slot. So his contract's going to come up at some point for negotiation, and if that radio station doesn't decide to, re-sign him at a higher value, then maybe because he's in the evening, right, the evening drive time area, that evening area, maybe they decide to let him go, and he moves to another radio station. With ratings like that, some other radio station is going to want to pick him up. Maybe they pick him up as the morning guy, right? So now he's in his late 30s, early 40s. He's the morning guy, and his show blows up, and it becomes really dynamic. Now, as this DJ in the morning, he's got a huge popularity. Maybe he goes into syndicated. From there, and he's a good-looking guy, so he could be like the next sort of Ryan Seacrest type, doing a lot of hosting, doing a lot of television appearances, because he's got a great charisma, great personality, and he's still up there doing his stand-up. So there are so many different ways to do it. Stop thinking one way. There's never just one way. I like to emphasize creating multiple revenue streams. That's why when I started in this business, I started with acting. I was acting, then I did stand-up, then I was doing writing the whole time, always writing. Then I wrote for Leno for 8 years. Then I wrote some sitcom. And then I wrote a screenplay and got a major motion picture made. And now I'm writing more screenplays, sold a couple of those bad boys. Now I've got a couple of more I'm working on. Now I'm developing, I just finished a book called 301 Zombie Jokes for Kids, just for kids, right? So we're going to release that book. From there, we just created a book called Zombie Nursery Rhymes, and that's going to be released soon. So we're going to have these book launches coming out. So all of this activity that's going on creates pressure outside the system. You never stop, and you just keep your head down, and you just allow the joy of what you do to envelop you, and you just keep going out there creating new stuff. But again, don't just think one way. Think multiple ways, multiple revenue streams, and learning how to build that pressure outside the system to have the system come to you. Now, I've talked about this before, but not in sort of the ageism. Maybe I did mention ageism before, but this seems to be a big concern for people. Also, wouldn't it be cool if Netflix, if someone went out there, maybe me, maybe I'll do it, maybe I'll put together a packet and I'll go pitch this at Netflix, comics of age, basically, and maybe we'll do a battle off or a roast off with kids, younger comedians who the networks seem to want to wrap their heads around, the 18 to 34s, and so maybe the people that are 40, 50, 60, 70 can take on these kids in a roast off. I think that would be a lot of fun. Maybe we would do sort of that as a game, and we pitch that to Netflix, because we know the networks won't take a look at it because they're so locked into being a slave to their advertisers whose target demo is 18 to 34 male. So maybe we pitch something like that and turn it around. That might be a concept. We can certainly try that. I'm going to write that down and maybe put together a treatment, go out and pitch to some people. But I got to avoid the networks. Got to go to somewhere like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, or Amazon Originals, or Crackle. Go to the people that are not the mainstream, or Comedy Central even. Comedy Central still does rely on advertisers. So, but if you can draw, think about it. But if you have the older comedians and the younger comedians, you bring them together for like a roast off, a roast battle, then you could have, you're going to be attracting the younger kids and the older kids. So you got the best of both worlds for advertisers. So maybe if it's pitched that way, in a business way, we can start to make some headway. So rest assured, there is ageism, but also rest assured that you have the capacity, the talent, the skill to create multiple revenue streams and not just be reliant on the executives who are locked into that advertising demo and stuck as prisoners of that, so they can't seem to get out of that bubble. You don't have to rely on that. You can create pressure outside of that and develop a following in a different way. So I hope that works for you. Look at other talent. Who's of age, who's still working, what are they doing? Study what they're doing and see if you can't duplicate that and then move ahead. Like Tony Robbins said, the success guru, if you want to succeed at anything, find somebody who's successful, who's doing it, copy them, and then you will be successful. So at this point, and I know that Tony Robbins didn't mean copy their material, find out what they're doing, right? So at this point, look at, if you're worried about the ageism and you're plus 40 somewhere or plus 50 somewhere, look at somebody who's beyond that age, see what they're doing, and try to copy them. But those younger guys, you guys should really start to really work on developing multiple skill sets. Not just stand-up, but your writing, your acting, and writing in multiple genres, both sitcom, one- and two-liner jokes, sketch for like getting jobs on SNL. If you get a job on SNL, you'll work, after that. Get a job on SNL as a sketch writer maybe. Maybe you can write sitcoms or create some films. If you start creating some kick-ass comedy films, it doesn't matter what age you're at. They don't look at your age when you submit a kick-ass script. If it works, it works. Next thing you know, your money, and then you could start writing your own ticket on the other side, like on the side of the stand-up side of your career. One of the things I like to do is I like to look at Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg designed his career. He started as a model, right, a Calvin Klein model back in the day. And then he got into rapping. He started rapping, music, right, became Marky Mark. And then from there, he started to do some acting and then executive producing and directing. And now he's pretty much established himself as his own entity, his own enterprise in Hollywood. So that could be you too. Don't just think one way, think multiple ways. Look at Ryan Seacrest's career. Even though I'm not a big fan of Ryan Seacrest personally, look at the way he navigated his career. Nothing happens overnight. I mean, geez, he was a DJ in LA for 10 years before he made something of himself on camera. And now he's, and then he's hosting everything. Now he's his own executive producer, producing projects. So not reliant on just on camera, but he's also behind the scenes producing projects, just attaching his name to projects, making money from that while he's doing other projects. That's how you generate multiple revenue streams and you continue to grow and leverage yourself. So stop thinking like a comedian, start thinking like an entrepreneur and like a businessman, and start taking this place by storm and developing that pressure outside that system so you can create some success inside the system, and I bet you'll start to see some changes. Again, ageism, tough thing to deal with, but not impossible. Just develop your pressure, man. Just keep your head down, do the best work you can, get it out there, get some eyeballs on it, develop a following, and now you got it. It's just a lot of consistent, hard fucking work, man. And a lot of people don't like to do the hard work, so that's where you're at an advantage. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it added some value to your day. It's not all bad news. With bad news comes good news, and I like to put a positive spin on everything because everything, I believe, can be overcome. These obstacles of ageism are certainly one of them. If you have any questions, please go to Twitter. Hit me up at Joke Doctor. That's my handle, at Joke Doctor on Twitter. And hit me with the hashtag #AskTheJokeDoctor, and I'll be happy to answer any questions in a video just like this one on my YouTube channel. So once again, I hope this added value to your day. Go kick some ass out there, be funny, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.